Hello and welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man who's going to record inside a gas station, a residence, a warehouse, a farmhouse, a henhouse, an outhouse, and a doghouse during this episode. It's Norbert Orban.
You tried to kill me, you son of a bitch. So welcome to the revolution.
I don't care. I can't do a Tommy Lee Jones.
I don't care. It's up there. The register's up there. I don't care. I didn't kill my wife. I don't care. You got to put your face into it because he really didn't care. And he apparently ad-libbed that.
And he practiced it for days. So he came up with that line, then he practiced it. But you could tell, like, that's perfect. That got him the Oscar. I feel like there are moments when people say things. And I remember watching this movie. I knew Tommy Lee Jones, but I remember watching this in '93, and I'm like, this dude is owning it. Like, even my 11-year-old brain understood that TLJ was on fire in this movie.
All day. All day.
So
all
Norbert,
day.
it's the 500th episode week, and we're celebrating. And the reason I brought you in for the Keith David Tommy Lee Jones draft is because I think the first episode we ever did was Total Recall. And during that episode, you busted out a Keith David impersonation that was beautiful. And then we did a They Live episode. And then we did an Armageddon episode with Keith David again. Then we did Pitch Black and Chronicles of Riddick with Keith David. But during our Armageddon episode, you busted out a Tommy Lee Jones impersonation that was just unbelievable. And Niall and I were just left laughing on the floor for the longest period of time. And then we talk about Volcano a lot, which stars Keith David and Tommy Lee Jones.
And Tommy Lee Jones, yes.
And then I just thought, you know what? To celebrate 500 weeks, you know, you've been around since the 100s. You've been around since 2018, 2019 on the MFF podcast. Huge contributor. I was like, you know what? Let's do a little victory lap. Let's talk about our favorite, or not even our favorite. We're going to do a Tommy Lee Jones and Keith David draft where we just draft 5 things they've been in.
No problem. No problem.
Like Tommy Lee Jones, what I love about him, right? He played football for Harvard. Like, this is a guy who he worked, you know, he played football. His dad was his mom was a cop. And then his dad was a oil, you know, drilled oil. And then he went to Harvard. He was roommates with Al Gore, and he played football. And then you have Keith David, who went to Juilliard, graduated in '79. He's from he was born in Harlem, raised in Corona, Queens,
New York.
And I just think that, like, Keith David, I don't know why, but Keith David's I've always been a huge fan of Keith David. There's some about Mary. Platoon, Gargoyles. This dude has been like, he was in a show called Enlisted that I loved him in. Like, this guy is just awesome. Like, Emmy winner, great actor. And then TLJ, who's just a nightmare to interview. Norbert, I was reading some of the interviews that he gives to people, and no one ever interviews him twice.
I can imagine. I can imagine. He doesn't suffer fools gladly. There you go.
And like, you know, someone asked him, they're like, oh, I heard you have a big polo ranch. He's like, what do you mean by big? And then the person's like, oh, I hate life. It's just, like, so I guess he just doesn't want to talk about anything personal. You just stick to the movie with him if you're asking him questions. Don't get too snazzy, meat and potatoes, and he'll give you terrible answers. And then he'll get out of there. But, but they've been around forever, though. I mean, TLJ's been around a lot longer than people know. Like, you know, in '77, he was crushing it in Rolling Thunder. He was one of the inspirations for Love Story that came out in '70. He popped up in TV shows. Then you have Keith David, in Mr. Rogers, and then popping up in, you know, this guy's been acting forever, too. I mean, he started in '79 as Disco Godfather, club patron, and then he popped up in The Thing in '82. So these guys have been. Keith David's in a Best Picture winner with Platoon. Tommy Lee Jones won an Oscar. He's also in No Country for Old Men. He's a director, and they just have a wonderful, wonderful filmography. So let's get into it, Norbert. Let's draft our favorite Keith David, Tommy Lee Jones movies.
These two, if they were pro wrestlers, you would call them jobbers. Because they're just always kind of lurking around behind the scenes. Tommy Lee Jones ended up getting a lot of leading man roles compared to our boy Keith David from Corona, Queens. Let's go. But with very limited screen time, Keith David will always stand out in your picture. And Tommy Lee Jones has gotten a lot of bites in the apple. During the 80s, these movies that Tommy Lee Jones were in, good God. Tommy Lee Jones was in some not great movies, and it's either because of Tommy Lee Jones or the movie itself. It depends on what it is. But again, magnetic. You got to watch the guy no matter what he's doing. He is always gruff Texas dude in everything. In everything. So I'm going to go a little bit outside the box, and I am going to go with, actually, it's kind of two. Black Moon Rising / Gotham.
Oh.
These are two Tommy Lee Jones movies that are not great. I'm not going to lie to you. But Black Moon Rising used to always come on WPIX Channel 11, New York City, once again. And my cousin, God bless her, we would watch TV together. And, ooh, she would say, Uzzy, come, Black Moonshine is on. We call it Black Moonshine, not Black Moon Rising. Black Moonshine is on. And Black Moon Rising is a movie where Tommy Lee Jones, he's a thief and an action hero. And his nemesis is Lee Ving, who, the serious hardcore punk dude, one of the very few groups that gets banned from SNL for their show being too rowdy. And Lee Ving is trying to kill Tommy Lee Jones because Tommy Lee Jones is a thief for hire, and he happens to run into the sexy car thief Linda Hamilton, and they get it on, boys and girls.
Do.
Yes, they do. They get it on. It's a movie about a car that can go over 300 miles an hour that runs on tap water. You don't get to see a lot of the car, but it's the 80s. Knight Rider time, A-Team van time. So movies about cars and whatnot. Dukes of Hazzard was on TV. Smokey and the Bandit had come out years before. Everybody loves cars, especially muscle cars. You got to see this movie just because it's insane. What do you think, Hoffmeyer?
There's a scene in Black Moon Rising where TLJ is on a rope between two buildings. And I feel like it's 40 minutes long. And I just don't think I want to watch TLJ rappel between buildings. Like, he's not that guy. Like, I picture like a Pierce Brosnan or I'll even give it to a Tom Selleck. I'll give it to Wesley Snipes. He would look great rappelling between buildings. But watching Tommy Lee Jones on a rope just doesn't feel natural. Like, he's a Texas boy. I don't want to see him climb or rappel. And so watching him go from one end to the other on a rope just made me so happy. And then and like the 80s were crazy, man, because you had this movie that probably could be PG-13, but then you have the craziest sex scenes in the middle.
Dude, he's just getting it in with Linda Hamilton.
And you're like,
and it seems awkward and creepy.
Like, you're like,
they don't get along.
Like, and like Youngblood too, right? There's a movie called Youngblood where it's a PG movie, but then there's this scene in it, and you're like, what has happened? Like, the 80s were crazy.
Oh yeah.
And it's just watching him do, and then the car, there's a chase scene in like a car that can go 300 miles an hour. And there's a chase scene inside of like an industrial building.
Yes. And it does not seem like that car is going 300 miles an hour at all.
They have to shoot themselves back. Poor Linda Hamilton and Tommy Lee Jones, every time they hit the gas pedal, they both have to go and like fling themselves back.
It definitely looked like they were doing an acting exercise. Okay, you guys, you're in a car that goes 300 miles an hour and stop. Maybe they're auditioning for Upright Citizens Brigade or something, but they're definitely not acting well.
And you know what I like about people were like, most actors, right? They got to get figured out. I think everyone wants to try to put them in a box. Like Colin Farrell shows up, put him in SWAT, put him in Alexander. And then he's like, guys, I just want to be in The Lobster. I just want to be in The Banshees of Inisherin. Like, let me just do my weirdness. But they're like, no, you got to be an action hero. Like, you are
an action star.
You can't just go be a character actor. You have to be this person. And so watching him, you talked about Gotham, watching him as like a private detective or as a cad of a thief.
Yes.
It's not TLJ.
Not at all.
But I think that's what Hollywood does, though. It's like, who are you? All right, you're in an action movie. But that doesn't
That's right.
Like Taylor Kitsch was really good in Friday Night Lights. He played a minor character who was full of like pathos and just really interesting. And they're like, okay, you're going to be in Battleship. I think they tried to do that to TLJ.
Some people do try to get pigeonholed. In '81, he was in a movie with Sally Field, a romantic comedy with Sally Field. Is like, love
Yes.
interest, Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah.
And this is again yet another just actress in her prime who there's no way. I love you, Tommy Lee Jones, but no, you're not gonna hook up with Linda Hamilton in real life. You're not gonna. We don't believe you. You need more people. Sally Field in '81? No way. She's not gonna get with you. And they're just roaming. They're just roaming the streets, trying to get as much money as they can. He ends up being a boxer at one point. And then in Gotham, he's Eddie Mallard, private detective in New York City who's always struggling to pay the bills until he gets this one weird case where a man believes that his dead wife is somehow following him. And then shenanigans ensue. And then we get a lot of Virginia Madsen, folks. And that's all I'm going to say about that. It's a movie to watch. It's a movie to watch. And it's yet another. Why is Tommy Lee Jones in this? As Tommy Lee Jones' career goes on, he's more dramatic. We get the Clay Shaw in JFK and The Fugitive, the Oscar winner Sam Gerard, where in The Fugitive he's a little bit more actiony, but he's not Black Moon Rising actiony. So Gotham and Black Moon Rising. That's my first pick.
That's perfect. And since you talked about him sort of like you talked about some of his action scenes, I'm gonna go with, I don't know if you've watched this, maybe I should have told you in advance, but I'm going to go with 1977's Rolling Thunder with Tommy Lee Jones.
Okay.
Paul Schrader helped write the screenplay, directed by John Flynn. But he's a minor character in this. This is very much so, not his movie. But he plays a guy called Johnny Voden. And there's a scene at the end, right, where there's going to be this really great gunfight. And so he goes up into this room. They're in a brothel, and he's just waiting. And when the gunfight kicks off, he looks at this lady and he goes, "I'm gonna kill a lot of people." And then it's him and it's William Devane just going through a brothel and just lighting people up. But like Tommy Lee Jones, though, this is how he fits. This is what he was. Like he was like this character. Like and then like also too, I was watching this scene. I'm like, I would not fight Tommy Lee Jones.
Not at all.
Early like Tommy Lee Jones, he was so like wiry.
Yeah.
Like, he
was a panther.
Exactly. And you look at him, you're like, I'm not messing with him. So I think it showcased the physicality. Also, this is a popular movie. Like, I mean, Rolling Thunder just had a Blu-ray release. Critics like it a lot. It does well on IMDb. It's 6.9. It's a good movie. I mean, it's one of those exploitation movies like Miss 45 that was better than it had any right to be. And if you watch it now, you're like, oh, it's still good.
It's still watchable.
Yeah, it's not horribly dated. But just watching, if you just watch it on Tubi, and you go to the end and you watch the gunfight and you can see early TLJ just ripping people apart. And when he says, I'm gonna kill all these people, you're like, yeah, you are. Like you got this, TLJ. So like it's a cool performance. And like it's fun seeing you, because listen, I was talking to Megan about this, and like she's like, I feel like Tommy Lee Jones has been 50 for 30 years.
Yes, sir, he has. Yes, sir. The reason being, he was dealing with some alcoholism in the past. Around the time of Black Moon Rising, he and Linda Hamilton didn't get along, and some of it was attributed to his drinking. So so it could be a lesson, folks. You look at Tommy Lee's face over the years. That's what booze will do to you. Careful, kids.
And because like when he was 40, yeah, and then you look at me, I'm 40, he's 40. He lived.
Seriously. And that man had a life. And you look at his high school picture that they put on Wikipedia, he still looks like he's 40 in high school. I love that man. I love him.
But I like this movie though. It's one of those rare exploitation movies that I think is still pretty good. And just watching early Tommy Lee Jones, because like you said, we don't see too much action Jones. Like U.S. Marshals, they tried to do it again, but that didn't really work. But I'm going with Rolling Thunder 77.
It's a good call. He did a lot of stunts in Black Moon Rising as well. It's a John Carpenter script, and
yes,
John Carpenter was like, I never watched that movie. A guy lost his car, he's trying to get it back. That's it. I'm done. He's a great actor. He's great with the ad libs. As you can see, he won an Oscar for one of them, for Christ's sake. And he was never formally trained. He's just, I'm an actor. That's what I do. I'm Tommy Lee Jones. I get in there and I just do my thing. And you got to give him credit. People make jokes. We just made a couple of jokes about his face, but it's not because we think he's not handsome. He's just been through some shit, man. He's lived a solid life, and you give him all the credit in the world. He puts it into his work, man. He puts it into his work.
I mean, he's been nominated for Oscars in what, 3 separate decades.
For
Like,
sure.
and one, like he puts the work in. He knows what's up.
For sure. Okay. So my next one is going to be the this movie shouldn't exist, but it does. Blown Away. Blown Away. 1994. Jeff Bridges and Tommy Lee Jones. I watched this movie so many times because Tommy Lee Jones, not classically trained actor, is just an IRA dude in America who just blows things up. He just creates bombs and listens to U2,
Oh
dances a jig.
no.
He likes to create bombs with toys that he picks up at yard sales and swap meets. And he just does not like Jeff Bridges because he's brother Liam. You see? He moved to America and he became James Jimmy Dove. Oh, is that your name now, brother Liam? Oh, we missed you. You were there for the cause. Where were you? And he's just doing his accent. It is amazing.
Oh man.
It is amazing.
The Irish Post has an article called "Remembering Blown Away and the Worst Irish Accents Ever Put to Film."
Ever.
It goes in and out. It's
Constantly.
you get accent whiplash in this movie. It's like, is he a Texas
Constantly.
Irish? Like, is he from Dublin, Texas? Like, or is he from Belfast, Texas? Like, where is he from? And
Belfast, Texas,
yeah,
man.
Belfast,
That's it.
Texas. Yeah, that's what it is. Derry, Texas. And
Yeah.
but you know what though? This was popular, man. Blown Away was popular. This
The
wasn't.
movie's incredible.
Yeah. You got JD. You got Forrest Whitaker. You
Yes.
got TLJ. You got
You
FW.
got,
Like, what
you
a
got
great
Bridges.
cast.
You got two generations of Bridges. You have the late, great Lloyd also
Oh
doing an
yeah.
Irish/Boston accent. And then you got Jeff, and we got to blow up the car in the yard. It's over there in the park. What are we doing over here? And let's go get some Dunkin', and then maybe we'll stop Garrity. He's got to blow up the police station in the yard. It's so great. So
Oh,
great.
I love that. And listen, I think Stephen Hopkins is I mean, he made a bunch of movies, so I'm not gonna say he's underrated, but he did, Predator 2, The Ghost in the Darkness,
Yes.
Blown Away. He did Nightmare on Elm Street. Let's see, which one did he do? 5, The Dream Child. He's a guy who he knows how. I think he did Trespass as well. No, Judgment Night he did, and he
Mm.
also did Lost in Space. But I think he's a guy who can just put a movie together.
That's it. That's it. We need you to get from point A to point B. Get this in the can under budget. We'll talk to you later. See you in 30 days.
And he does it.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. And ladies and gentlemen, loyal listeners, you get your ass to the video store or whatever it is that you kids use to watch movies today, and you get blown away, and you are going to have fun. There are a lot of bombs in this movie, all right? A lot of bombs. And then you have the incredible scene where, because Ryan Garrity is so good at making bombs out of literally anything, he's beyond MacGyver level. Anthony Franklin, aka Forrest Whitaker, sits down, puts his headphones on to listen to very loud R&B, and oh, there's a bomb in his headphones. Oh my God! So Jeff Bridges' whole team, James Jimmy Dove, their whole thing, they're the bomb squad for Boston, and they're the best bomb squad ever. Nobody ever loses their life until now. So you got to figure out, how can we get this bomb off of Forrest Whitaker's head without blowing everybody up? It's amazing. It's amazing. And the accents. Oh God, I give this movie 11 stars out of 5. It's amazing.
You haven't lived life until you've seen Tommy Lee Jones singing in a Northern Irish accent, singing U2.
That's right. And I still haven't found what I'm looking for.
The- all right, that's a beautiful pick.
Oh God.
So I'm gonna throw a wrench into us right now, and I'm gonna switch over to
Okay.
Keith David.
Go for it.
All right, so this is gonna be a very odd poll, and but I don't care, because there's a line in it that you haven't lived until you've heard Keith David say a certain line, and this pick is gonna come from Community season 3, episode 14, and it's called Pillows and Blankets. It's a half-hour episode about a pillow fight that breaks out in the junior college. and it's
Oh, I think I've seen.
narrated by Keith David. And there's a line in this episode where they're talking about this woman opened up a kind of a medical area for people who are slightly dehydrated and have had their testicles lightly grazed from pillows.
Oh, Jesus.
And so
Ouch.
you haven't lived life until you've heard Keith David say lightly grazed testicles. And then he later appeared on season 6 of Community. He became a cast
A
member on
cast
it.
member, right?
But
Right.
just hearing Keith David say lightly grazed testicles while narrating a pillow fight episode that's very like a Ken Burns Civil War type episode,
Right.
you haven't lived until you, and his voice is so majestic. But just
Yes.
once again, lightly grazed testicles from Keith David's mouth. Like, remember, he's great. He's great. He's pretty great talking about balls too. Remember, there's something about Mary. Like, how'd you get the beans above the Franks?
How'd you get the beans above the Franks? Yes, thank you for putting that back into my head.
How'd you get the beans above the Franks? And then beans and Franks, beans and Franks. Like, just
Man. And then the shot. They actually had the guts to put that shot on screen. The entire theater was like, oh!
how'd you get it zipped up all that way? But
Yeah.
that's the Keith David special. Bring him in to be Cameron Diaz's parent, and he steals it. Like, runs away with it. How'd you get the beans above the... That's one of the most quoted lines in the movie.
Yes,
And-
it is. Yes,
and-
it is. And I, it's not. There's not a lot, honestly, that I remember. Beyond the hair gel, be in that movie. And I've seen that movie a lot. And yeah, he steals that movie away from them.
He's amazing.
does.
He's like,
He
and
does.
Marky Post is funny in it too. So it's
The late Marky Post, yeah.
and just, but how'd you get the beans with the Franks? Just, oh man, perfection. And then he's so mad. Remember when Ben Stiller puts the baseball behind that guy's ear and just gets destroyed?
Yes.
And everyone's mad at Ben Stiller. He's like, you broke my table. Like, I can't do the good Keith David. He's like, oh, you're breaking my table. And just,
You're breaking my table.
yeah, it's
You
beautiful.
just gotta you gotta attack it. You're breaking my table.
Oh yeah, so that's what I'm gonna go with Community for my first Keith David.
That's a solid pick. And since you gave props to a voiceover, we're gonna do the honorable mention before I get into my Keith top 5. The honorable mention for Keith is just everything that has his mellifluous voice. Take that one. From the Oxford Dictionary, boys and girls. Sweet or musical, pleasant to hear. The voice was mellifluous and smooth. Keith David's mellifluous voice in this is no way near a complete list. Gargoyles.
Oh gosh.
Oh, The Princess and the Frog. The Arbiter from Halo. My friend refused to leave my house until we beat Halo 2. And so I'm just sitting there, and the only thing that's keeping me alive is the Arbiter. We must seek justice and destroy the flood. Oh, man. Anything that Keith David gives voiceover to, you're just drawn to. And the credit is all Keith David for that Spawn series, and actually all of the voice actors in that Spawn HBO series, because the animation, Spider-Man the animated series looked better than the Spawn on HBO.
Yeah.
But his voice just keeps you, man. He just wrings such emotion out of what's going on with Al Simmons. It was better than the comic book to me. It was great. So, honorable mention, all Keith David voice work. The man is chef's kiss at all times.
And I'm going to add, this is going to be another one of my picks, but I don't care. He has a Disney song. He has Friends on the Other Side in The Princess and the
Nice.
Frog. Like, he's a Disney villain, like of a really
Sure.
fun animated movie, and he's beautiful.
Sure.
He has a song called Friends on the Other Side, where he's talking, singing the whole story, just selling it. Like, his voice work is so alive in that song, Friends on the Other Side. I listened to it the other day, and I was just jamming out to it, listening to Keith David. So, like, I love his voice work, and I love his song, Friends on the Other Side. It's so good.
Don't you disrespect me, little man. Don't you derogate or deride. Let's
so
go.
You're so good. All right, so who's your Keith David? Are you going to make a Keith David pick?
Yeah. So the honorable mention was the voices. And I'm going to go a little bit out of left field. Yet another movie he does not star in, but is incredible in. The Puppet Masters, ladies and gentlemen. He's in The Puppet Masters. And he's, once again, as he is in everything, good friends with the main character. And as the movie goes on, we got Eric Tall, who's the hero. He's playing Sam Nivens. We got some classic Donald Sutherland love that we get in there, where he just plays creepy doctor who knows all. And then our boy Keith David, Alex Holland, he gets completely overtaken by these little creatures that pop out of eggs and take over your brain. It's kind of like a more gruesome version of the Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Came out in 1994, directed by Stuart Orm. We get some David S. Goyer pen work on the screenplay as
Ooh.
well. All right. And it's based on the book by Heinlein. So when these things latch onto you, they stab you in the back of your head. They look like manta rays, and they hide under your clothes. We also get some props to the late Richard Belzer. He's in there. He catches one in the neck. But as it is in some of these things, sometimes we save these people, sometimes we don't. So of course, our hero, the leader, Eric Tall, yeah, we save him. We got to save him. We get it pulled off of the back of his neck. But when Keith David gets caught, why did you leave me, Alex? You should have helped me out, Alex. What's going on, Alex? You son of a bitch. And he's just really mad and hostile the whole time. And I was like, yeah, why didn't you try to save Keith David a little bit? And whereas everybody else just gets one stuck in the back of their neck, Keith David is like covered in 16. And he's just full of rage. And he does this smile. He's like, here, kitty, kitty, kitty. Gotta get it. Gotta get it, kids. Puppet Masters, 94. Yet another movie Keith David steals.
I need to go watch this now. I had never heard of this film. So yeah.
So good. So
right.
good. Also, we get a little bit of Andrew Robinson, a.k.a. Garrick from Deep Space Nine. He's great in it, too.
Oh, all right. I'm watching this movie now. Heck yeah.
Go for it.
I guess I'm going to jump on Keith David, too. In 86, Platoon came out. And I watched it when I was quite young. I feel like that's a movie that just parents showed their kids, Platoon. Like, hey, watch Platoon.
Yeah, this really happened.
Yeah, and so they're like, just watch this. And so while a lot of people remember Tom Berenger being incredibly frightening, or Willem Dafoe being really charming, or Charlie Sheen's solid performance that keeps it together, I remember feeling so, like, that movie feels very oppressive to me. And hey, like Tommy Lee Jones and Keith David have the Oliver Stone combination too. They both been in some really good Oliver Stone pictures. But it's watching him in it as King. He's the one that looks after Charlie Sheen. Like, hey man, you doing all right? Like, don't stop smoking this. Even though he brought him into a place to start smoking. But just
absolutely.
Also the way, I know that we have an explicit label on our thing, so I'm not gonna say it too many times. But the way when they're pulling the crap out of the thing, he's like, motherfucker. Like, he says it so fast. Like, I feel like when Samuel, like, you know, I feel like the most famous mother effer in the world is Sam Jackson. But when he says it, right, he's like, I want these mother effing snakes off this mother effing plane. Like, he really enunciated it. But what Keith David is like, motherfucker. Like, he says it really fast.
It's legit annoyance. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's legit annoyance. Really, again, with this, come on.
And just watch him. But he's the kind of, and then when he gets on the helicopter and he's just so happy, and so Charlie Sheen's like, I'm going to walk you out, man. And just watching him kind of navigate and just, I don't know. I remember watching that movie and feeling very oppressive because there's just so many, I'm not going to say terrible people. I mean, so many people are drafted out there just to die. And then you get the lifers, you get the killers, you get a little bit of everything, just a ton of broken people. But I'm not saying he wasn't broken, but the energy he brought to it, I distinctly remember to this day really being drawn to Keith David in that movie and the gross feet.
No, agreed, man. The one thing Oliver Stone manages to get really, really right in this movie is just the slog of what these guys were going through. It's day to day. The weather is something they're not used to. The bugs, the constant walking with the pack, the just feeling of being exhausted at all times. Oh, and by the way, there's just legions of people that you can't see who might just shoot you in the face instantly. You might drop dead. King is doing Jesus Christ. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. King is doing Eric Idle, Jesus Christ. Always look on the bright side of life. Somehow he gets to be that guy in the Vietnam War, and he plays it straight. He keeps his smile on his face. He uses those makeshift weights to get his pump on. And he's just got the greatest smile on his face, and he's not playing a buffoon. Mm-mm. He's not an idiot.
He knows what's going on.
Yeah. This is the situation that we're in. I'm gonna deal with it. And God willing, I will not be murdered. And this was definitely during the time when brothers weren't making out of movies alive, man. And Keith David gets on that plane, and they're just like, hallelujah. He made it. It was so great.
I was like, where's the RPG? I was like, where's the RPG coming at him right now?
Right.
And yeah, I love what you said too, because there's that scene where Charlie Sheen's like, I have 300 and something days left. And they're like, man, why don't you just say you've been in 40 days? Like, look at the bright side of it. Try to.
Exactly.
Because listen, if you want, you could spiral all you wanted. I can't speak for people who've been in actual combat, but like what I like about Keith David and King is he knows it's terrible. He knows the people out there. Like, but for some, he's not gonna. That's why it's believable. He's not like, hey guys, Super Chippy, hey, what's going on?
Yeah,
he's
exactly.
Like, no, this is horrible, and I get it, but I refuse to do that.
It's not gonna break me.
And yeah.
Also, here, smoke this joint.
Yeah. take this long hookah.
It helps.
And I think the key of this movie though is there's a lot of character time. The characters have a lot of time in this movie, and at the end when they're dying, you know each one who's dying.
Right.
Like you're like, oh no, like that. Like I can't name the names right now, but you just know who they are when they're dying. It's good filmmaking, and I had to add him from that. So I mean, he's in a Best Picture winner, so I had to mention that.
Oh, it's definitely a good call. It's definitely a good call. I mean, you look at his IMDb, there's 200-300 credits, man. The man is in everything.
Yep.
So when you call me and tell me, bro, let's do a top 5 of these, I'm like, 5? I'm just looking at a list of movies because I love them all. And to his credit, he's got more good movies than Tommy Lee Jones. I've said it. I've thrown the gauntlet down. I'm throwing it down.
I mean,
at the very least, just because he steals them and makes them good.
I would, because I mean, listen, you're looking through this. You have, in a period of a few years, he's in Reality Bites, and then he's in The Quick and the Dead, and then he's in Clockers, Dead Presidents. Then like, he's in huge movies.
Huge movies.
Yeah. And
huge movies.
It kind of, then he'll just pop up in Volcano, and then he just pops up in Armageddon, and the guy just works.
Quintessential. Oh, Keith David's in it. That guy. He's quintessential. That guy is in it.
How'd you get the beans with the Franks? Like Andre the Giant and Clockers. Oh,
totally.
Man. Dude.
Totally. I was just about to say, that's my next pick.
Hey.
That's my next pick. Okay, so I said honorable mention, all the voice work. Number 5 was the Puppet Masters. Number 4, Andre the Giant, righteous cop in the Gowanus Projects, Brooklyn, Clockers. 1995, ladies and gentlemen, the crack era is here. The crack era is here. Gangster rap has started to take over. Gin and Juice came out in like 91, something like that, around the time. So Spike Lee's putting out this movie that just might as well have, in just flashing neon lights above it, message. It's a message pick.
Yep.
And it goes back and forth. It's the debut of Mekhi Phifer.
So
all right.
good.
You got Harvey Keitel. You got oh man, what is the other guy's name? It's Harvey the Jesus.
Oh, John Turturro.
Thank you. You got Keitel, you got Turturro. For some reason, you got Onyx in there with Sticky Fingers. They're just keeping it quote unquote gangster, talking about how Chuck D he's not hard because he's never been to jail, he's never slapped a woman. So you got all of these messages that Spike Lee is trying to tell you, maybe we need to calm down on this gangster stuff.
Yeah.
And who's the embodiment of it? Beyond the parents, the adults in the movie, our boy Keith David, who plays Andre, the cop. What are you doing? You're feeding this poison to our people? Huh? What are you doing, huh? I tell you, leave that kid alone, Strike. If I ever see you next to him again, I'm going to kill you. You understand? And, of course, Mekhi Phifer doesn't listen, and he gives the kid a gun. And when you see Keith David hear the word strike come out of that witness's mouth, he explodes out of that police station, makes a beeline to Mekhi Phifer, and just beats fire out of him in front of a crowd of people. Huh? Didn't I tell you? Huh? You're probably one of the knuckleheads who tried to mug Rosa Parks. And Mekhi Phifer's like, who's Rosa Parks? And it's just... This just sets Keith David to yet another level of rage. And he's just beating the hell out of Mekhi Phifer. If I ever see you here again, I'll kill you. You understand? This is your last night in the projects. Get out of here. You understand?
Oh, he's so good.
Woo!
He's on a
He
moving
plays,
train.
he plays righteous cop. He plays righteous cop who just wants to clean up the hood and get drugs out of the hood, and then maybe we can advance as a people. But he does it in a way that's not condescending, and he really feels like he's going to be the cop to help these people out and make the projects into a nice place. Great, great role. It's an overall great movie. It's a very underrated movie from Spike Lee.
It's really interesting. I remember when we did the Delroy Lindo draft. This was the first one we picked too from
Oh,
it.
what a bad guy.
Yeah.
My God.
Oh man, I think everyone was on fire in this movie, and I love what you said about Keith David. He can pull that off without sounding condescending or being that like that's a trope.
Guy.
Like that's a
Yeah, he's
trope.
not
Like
a pants guy, right?
yeah, oh, it's so good. Oh, I love that pick, man. I love Clockers.
It's
And Mekhi
man,
Phifer, man.
his debut murders it. His debut because he's really conflicted about, I don't want to be a drug dealer. I want to play with trains.
Yeah.
I can't. I gotta drink this fake milk because I got ulcers.
Yeah.
I'm like years old. I was like, wow. It was a portrayal of a brother at the time that you had never seen on screen before.
No.
Life was grinding this dude down, and Mekhi Phifer really pulls it off. And what Keith David manages to bring to that role, he's so frustrated and disappointed because he sees that Strike Mekhi Phifer is actually he's not a stupid kid. Maybe you if you try XYZ, that's what they always say. If you did this, you could be whatever you want. He's one of those guys. But he's really hurt and disappointed, and so he just unleashes 10 shades of pain on this cat, man. The overall frustration with the drug war and everything, and just what is happening to his people. It's a great role. It's a great role.
Oh, I love it. And yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad you picked that because now I can open up and pick other things. So that makes me happy. I'm gonna switch back to TLJ. I just want to throw a quick mention out the Firebirds where he's Brad Little and he gets knocked out by Nicolas Cage. And Nicolas Cage does the most interesting stair running that I've ever seen in my life. Like Tommy Lee Jones is the mentor in this movie, and he's teaching Nicolas Cage how to be a Black Hawk helicopter pilot. But Nicolas Cage has a bunch of hang-ups that he has to get over. And there's a scene where Nicolas Cage is in a simulator just going, I am the greatest. I am the greatest. And it's just Tommy Lee Jones running. Like he's just jogging around. But yeah, that's I had to mention that real quick. But I'm going to mention another Oliver Stone movie, and I'm not trying to be boring here. But I remember in 95, 13 years old, I went to a Blockbuster video store. I found Natural Born Killers on sale on VHS used. I went, got it. It was like $5, $6, $7, I don't know. Grabbed it, walked up to the desk, 13-year-old me. I was like, hey, man, I'm going to buy this movie. And the guy's like, all right, good luck. And so the guy sold it to me at Blockbuster, just looking at me like, you're going to be wrecked, kid. And I was legitimately wrecked. And I always for a long time, Warden Dwight McCluskey was one of the scariest people in that movie for me. And I think what a lot of people forget about TLJ is that in movies like Blown Away, Natural Born Killers, even Batman Forever, he wasn't afraid to go big. Like he has
not at all.
Yeah, we think about JFK, right? We think about Fugitive when he's very slick, Oscar nominated, but he'll go. I mean, Batman Forever, he went huge. Warden Dwight McCluskey, though, is all manic energy, just snagging people's noses. The way he ignores the people coming to talk to him at the end when he busts out his mace and just gets ripped from the jail cell. He is just a monster. And just the way that Stone films him but I hadn't seen that. Like I was used to Jones. I had watched Jones first in Fugitive. So then watching him again, I think I even saw Batman Forever before because I went and bought this used. But I remember I watched it and I just went, man, I haven't seen this Tommy Lee Jones because he's not like physically imposing. He's just this like braggadocious Texas, mean, manic man.
It's a vibe, man.
And
yeah,
I had to include a Tommy Lee Jones manic performance because I think a lot of people don't know that about him. But yeah, he gets very manic, and so that's my pick right now. I had to include Natural Born Killers with him in it.
That's it, man. That's it. The vibe that Tommy Lee brings in so many of his movies, and it's one of the reasons, honestly, why he didn't make a good action star is because his menace is not physical. His menace is in the glowering, that look that he gives you with his eyes,
Yeah.
the way that he can crease his mouth, the frown that he'll give you. And sometimes it's not even necessarily a frown, it's just a kind of a look that I cannot describe, but he just gives you the eyes and you just, yeah, you're right. I messed up, Tommy. I'm sorry. I'll never do this again. He exudes this menace and this just presence. And he's not really a big dude. He's 6 feet tall, you know. So he's not as big as Seagal when they're in Under Siege.
Oh,
You know, that's going to be my pick, by the way.
dude, I think you're gonna be proud of this moment. But we were watching the Steven Seagal Keith David movie. What is it? Art for Justice?
Out for
Oh,
justice.
Mark for Death. And Keith David makes it through that one too. But there's scenes where Steven Seagal is saying dialogue and Keith David is carrying the entire scene on his back.
Of
And
course he is.
Megan was listening to it and she's like, wow. She's like, Keith David is just carrying Seagal right now. Like, just, like, you're listening to his line delivery, Seagal's, and you're going, what is happening? And then, but it just made, I was like, you are 100% correct. Like, Keith is,
Yeah.
he is putting everything in his Juilliard training, his Shakespearean training to carry this moment with Steven Seagal.
Man, the 3-word title era of Seagal, Marked for Death, Out for Justice, Hard to Kill. These movies, good God. They're just, oh God. Anyway, let's not.
Yeah.
But I agree, 100%. I'm picking Under Siege because this is more of what you're talking about, that vibe, that energy that he can bring. We get a little bit of what we're going to see with Psycho Harvey Dent in this when he is threatening the U.S. government and he's taken over the helicopter, the aircraft, the boat. You know, the guy, look, Bill, if this is about reliving the 60s, you can forget about it, buddy. The movement's dead. Yes, of course. Hence the name movement. It moves a certain distance, then it stops, you see. A revolution gets its name by always coming back around in your face. You try to kill me, you son of a bitch. You son of a bitch. He puts that in there. So welcome to the revolution. And then he just calms down. Yeah, you know. Oh, you think they fell for it? Yeah, they fell for it. You know. What are you? You get to be the Roadrunner? Yeah, never get caught.
And great harmonica work too.
Oh man, yo. I spent a half hour rewinding the part where he is in this band.
Oh gosh.
Is he the lead singer? Is he Flavor Flav, the hype man? Because somebody else is singing at all times. You know, when Gary Busey comes in the room in drag, he's kind of doing a rap along with him. He's so fearless.
Yeah.
As an actor, he makes his choices and he just goes with it. And to his credit, completely on rhythm the whole time as the music is on, completely on rhythm. But what is his point in this band? Music is my life. I love it. What are you talking about? You don't do anything musically except play a harmonica, which is the instrument of prisoners.
It doesn't feel right watching him play the harmonica, but it's still, it's watching Tommy Lee Jones play the harmonica, knowing that he will, makes me happy.
Yes.
Do you think he went and made The Hunted and had a real knife fight with Benicio del Toro because of the ending of Under Siege, where Steven Seagal just shellacks him, like he
just murders him,
stabs him on the top of the head?
You know, if he was one of those method actor types, I would completely believe that Tommy Lee Jones just walked into Texas with a knife. I'll see you guys in a few weeks. I got to train for this movie. You know, if I don't come back, you know, tell my wife I love her. But he's not that guy. They just tell him, this is what we're doing in this scene. Okay, I'm going to do it. Let's go. Let's get it done. He just nails it. He's so good.
So he's like Jim Varney is what you're saying. When I know people who worked with Jim Varney and they said that they would just drop him off in the woods on a Friday and pick him up on a Sunday when they were shooting Ernest Goes to Camp.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it.
He would just disappear.
It's just there are certain people, you give them some instructions and then it's just done.
Yeah.
Tommy Lee Jones, one of those guys, and it could be, you know, from his upbringing in Texas, you know. Texas, I don't know if you all have ever been to Texas. It's really hot. like really hot, and then you get that humidity. So you just got to do things in Texas, get them done. we we don't have a lot of time to hem and haw or think about, should I put it over here? No, they told me to put it over there, so I'm gonna put it over there. Listen, it's 100 degrees outside. I want to get inside and have me a cold beer.
Lone Star.
That was probably Tommy Lee Jones as a kid. Tommy, you go to the summer. Tell me exactly what you need. I'm gonna go get it. I'll bring it right back, okay? But let me tell you something right now. If you need something else, I'm not going back out there again. You understand?
Keep going. How old are you, Tommy? I'm 6.
I've been 6 for 40 years.
Oh, that's a perfect pick. And all right, so I feel like I've knocked out a bunch. I know he had a run there with Double Jeopardy, which was legit huge, and he's very good in it. But I think it would be a little crazy for me not to take him as K in Men in Black in '97 because it's the obvious
iconic
pick. But he and Will Smith's energy in that one, where
iconic.
they, what's interesting, where the two of them share the movie. They really do, and Jones even finds some sort of pathos in his performance as K.
Yes.
And just he you know what's interesting? He had that line delivery before, but going through his cinematography here, he hadn't been K yet. Like this was a late pivot for him, kind of like when De Niro went to comedy and just went way too much into comedy.
Yeah.
And also, I think I don't know if I can talk about this, but I think I'm one of the few people who's seen the Comeback Trail with him and De Niro and Morgan Freeman. I got a screener for it. I watched it and they're like, "Do not review this movie. We will let you know when you can." And then it's just completely disappeared. So I wonder if it's ever going to get a release. But just his droll delivery, his unselfishness to be with Will Smith, and just the way they played off of each other, that could have really not worked.
Right.
Because pulling his form of grumpy off in Men in Black's not easy at all. And it's a blockbuster movie. And someone told me that when they went to the theaters, there was a big banner that said Jones, and then another big banner that said Smith.
Right.
And it's like Tommy Lee Jones has his own banners across the world at this point. So it just makes me happy, and I just have to add that because I think this we kind of welcomed in a new era of TLJ.
Exactly.
In this. So yeah,
exactly.
I would say that.
That is also one for me too as well. The entire series indeed. And what you're saying about the comedic aspect is this. De Niro is parodying himself as his comedies go on.
Yeah.
late Jeff Goldblum is leaning into Jeff Goldblum. He's parodying himself.
Yeah, he's Jeff Goldblum playing a character playing Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, exactly. Tommy Lee Jones is Tommy Lee Jones actor. He's still acting. And he gets that he could take it to a level where he plays himself eventually. He's just joking around. But because he plays everything straight and not over the top, he very rarely in the 3 movies, he very rarely gets to Harvey Dent Under Siege level psycho comedy. He doesn't do it that often. And when he does go big in these movies, it's super hilarious because he manages to keep it low key the whole time. He lets Will Smith be manic and nut. Will Smith is the nut dude. He's a straight man. They managed to even put that vibe in the cartoon. The cartoon is wild underrated. I love that cartoon. It's such a good cartoon, the Men in Black cartoon. And when Tommy Lee Jones is on that screen at the end of Men in Black, I was just inside of I was just in the digestive system of a giant worm. I'm tired of this.
Yes.
I want to be. I feel you. I get it.
Yeah.
Because you've been doing this for God knows how long, and you're done. So when they give him when he wipes his brain and he goes away, if they had stopped the series right there, it's perfect.
Perfect.
And then when you see him in the next movie in the post office, it's so great because he's still giving you the Agent K vibes. He's doing everything to the letter. And yet another late great, Biz Markie, is in the.
Oh yeah.
Biz Markie is in there, and he's just friendly with everybody. He's not a jerk. He's not a grunt. Now everybody make sure, remember when you put your packages together, to not use this, use that instead. And I cannot repeat this enough times. And it's just, yeah, that's Agent K. He got the vibe, but he's a postal worker now.
It's beautiful.
Part 3, they retcon.
Yeah.
Oh, I've known him all along, and he's the look in his face, like that's actually you've been my boy forever. You get it. It was heartwarming. It's heartwarming. 1, 2, and 3, Men in Black. 1, 2, and 3. These movies shouldn't have worked because Cowboys and Aliens. That's terrible.
Terrible.
Okay. The R.I.P.D.
Oh
that's
gosh.
really terrible.
That's one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life.
It's really, and then they had the nerve to make part 2, R.I.P.D.
Oh yeah.
So you can see absolutely they walked a fine line with this, and it's something that has yet to be replicated. And a lot of it is because Will Smith, mwah, perfect actor in this. Tommy Lee Jones, mwah, perfect. They just peanut butter and jelly, man.
Energy is real. Like,
yeah,
energy is real, and I think there aren't many instances of this where the two are on equal footing. Like they were both unselfish. They both really played well off of each other, and I feel like the two of them just understood each other's style, or like I really think actors can get on wavelengths. Like, this is random, but I just watched Beverly Hills Cop again, and Reinhold and the other cop and Eddie Murphy. I feel like in that first movie they just like hit a symmetry. Like, I just put my hands together. I'm doing Topher Grace from In Good Company or whatever that movie is. Like, they I don't know. They all, like, the energies fit. Really. Like, remember that scene in the club when Eddie Murphy, we talked about this on the podcast. Like, when Eddie Murphy is talking to the guy, he's like, "You're going to make a move on me. There's some people with guns." And then they both get on each other's, like, I don't know. Like, and that's what makes these movies blockbusters, is when there's an energy, if that makes sense. And so, and this might be a little cheap. I was thinking about going a little funkier, but then I had to watch the beginning of I watched the ending of Requiem for a Dream again for this episode. I'm like, I don't want to talk about that movie. But it's we've already talked about this before, and I know there's a thing with Childs, but you and we talked about They Live, and so that's Frank and Frank and Nada, and I don't think. Listen, I think John Carpenter. What the strength of John Carpenter in that movie is realizing Roddy Piper's strengths and playing to those strengths. Like, that's what a good director does. They protect their inexperienced actor. But I think people don't realize how much work Keith David did in that, with the fight scene, with just the dialogue and carrying their scenes together and the energy he brought. But they have a good energy, the two of them together. And I think people got to understand, Roddy Piper had acted, and he did have charisma. He did pop on screen. He really did. He's one of the few. He does. Roddy Piper has a great screen presence, but
100%.
He was still relatively untrained. I mean, he performed in front of thousands, but Keith David carries it. It's like, when they were talking about doing Predator, they brought in Carl Weathers to just act alongside Arnold. Rocky, you have Carl Weathers again. It's like, I think you bring in a strong actor to sort of carry these people. And I mean, I guess you could even say that. I mean, Will Smith was hot then. That wasn't necessary. But I just got to say They Live, because of the fight scene that lives on forever. And he gets shot, which sucks. But he's just great in that movie. You dirty mother. I show that fight to my students, my film study students, every semester, and it just blows the roof off. So I had to do They Live for Keith David.
Listen, man, it's never going to be a bad call to say, Norbert, I want to talk about They Live. All right? Because we get such a brilliant monologue. They put you at the starting line, and the name of the game is make it through life. Only everyone's out for themselves and looking to do you in at the same time. Okay, man, here we are. You do what you can, but remember, I'm going to do my best to blow your ass away. So how you going to make it? That's 1980s right there. That's that's the system. That is life. That is what it is. Frank is nailing it. And he does the give and take with Roddy Piper's Nada. He gives him space to breathe. He will let his voice carry when it's his turn, I have a wife and kids in Detroit. I haven't seen them in 6 months. Steel mills were laying people off left and right. They finally went under. We gave the steel companies a break when they needed it. Know what they gave themselves? Raises. The golden rule: he who has the gold makes the rules. Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, Frank. That's right. Preach. Yo. Come over here, son. Come over here, son. Frank over here spitting bars. Bars. Incredible. I love this movie.
Yeah, I just feel like it's a bit provocative to not put it in there or to mention it. So yeah, I had to go with They Live. I had to.
That's fine. They Live, The Thing. You know how we feel about Childs. You know how we feel about Childs. You know how it is. That's right.
It sucks too. I was watching this documentary called Horror Noir, and or maybe I was watching a making of They Live, one of the two. But Keith David was telling a story about like he barely got hired after The Thing, and it kind of sucks. Like he was so good in it, and then
it's insane.
And I know in '86 he was in Platoon, but I mean other than that he didn't really get many roles. And then I love that Carpenter was like, all right, hey, come back for They Live. Carpenter probably just called him, chill.
Yeah,
hey, man.
Yeah.
What are you up to? You wanna be on They Live? All right, cool. I'm working on the score now. You want to hear it? Beep boop boop doop boop boop.
Like a broken Nintendo, he just puts it next to the phone. Just
Okay, that sounds great, John. That sounds great.
I'll be right there.
It's those two movies though. I mean, 88 and 82. Like he just crushed it. And so, yeah, I had to do it.
It's no problem. They Live is on our list. We always give him love for the Riddick series, man.
Yeah.
Because he just nails it as the Imam. He didn't want to betray Riddick in the second movie, but they were going to kill his family, and there's nothing that he could do. I'm so sorry, Riddick. So we give that one love. What else can we do? You know what? Let's just get right down to it, man.
Uh-oh.
Peanut butter and jelly, man. Volcano.
Yeah, the two of them.
It's there it is together, brother. Like icing on the cake. That's these guys, man. Lieutenant Ed and Roark. Not Rourke, Roark.
Where are you from again, man? Like, where are you from? They're always like, he's from the country, right? And then they're like, where are you from? Well, where was he from? I just watched Volcano.
I couldn't tell you because he always sounds like he's from Texas. It doesn't matter where he's from. New York is Tommy Lee Jones is a New York City private detective? Yes, I am. I am from New York City. Okay, sure. I never even worry when they tell me where Tommy Lee Jones is from in a movie because he's from Texas. I'm gonna just let that be. The same way that Jean-Claude Van Damme in Street Fighter, he's the ultra American soldier, but he talks like this. Okay, cool.
Before we wax poetic about the greatness of TLJ and Keith David, I totally forgot about how Volcano has Don Cheadle, and his Kangol hat it should have a credit in this movie.
So fly.
Remember that guy makes fun of him? He's like, that's a pink slip.
Yeah. Listen to me. The reason why his hat is so fly is because that is how you rock the Kangol in the 80s. And that is where fly comes from. That is a fly hat, straight stunting on these fools. Oh. That's right. Before he was Rhodey, he was trying to take Roark's job.
Emmett Reese.
He's
like, you like hovering, don't you?
And this is where we just get our so much delicious Tommy Lee Jones. And then we get the beautiful light dusting of Keith. And when they are together on screen, they're going at it, man.
Yeah.
They're going at it. I can only fight what I can see. Are you telling me we just got this, mother?
Yeah. We're wasting time here. We need to pull back. What did he say? It's like we're putting a Band-Aid on a something or another. Like just whatever he said was like, we're not doing any good here. We need to pull back.
Oh my God. There's never listen.
And Anne Heche takes her best friend into the ground, and her best friend just gets slaughtered, and she's the one saying lava, and then they never talk about her ever again.
Never again. Burned alive. Her friend is burned alive. Her friend is introduced to perhaps the first on-screen demonstration of how an air fryer works. That woman is hooked. That is, my God. Yo,
Uh,
and
uh,
Tommy Lee, he doesn't know what magma is. Sometimes magma can find one of those fissures and rise up through it. What's magma? Lava. Lava? Right here in LA.
oh yeah, that scene.
We have a history of that down here. It's too dangerous.
It's like, let's make our main character look stupid so we can explain things to the audience.
We're going to put as many people in front of it as it takes. Listen up, people. Let me tell you what's south of us. No more museums, no more department stores, just homes. People, if we turn and run now, they're going to be defenseless. You don't like my plan? That's good. Give me another plan, but don't tell me we're backing out. And you're just like, yeah, let's fight fire. Literal fire.
Hold, now.
Okay, turn on the water hoses. Yes, that's right. We have to go now. We have to go now. It's pandemonium around here. We have to go now. Can we blow the building? He's Vicente. Clear.
That takes 2 weeks. You got 20 minutes.
20 minutes. Word. Not even like an hour. 20 minutes. 2 weeks worth of work. Do it in 20 minutes. And then they just do it. Because America.
Can I tell you something, Norbert? You and I are bomb experts. And like, we blow up buildings for a living, and we even consult about different bombs, whatever.
Sure.
Magma is flooding LA. And you and I are like the bomb experts in the United States. And someone goes, you have 20 minutes to just blow this thing up. You know how much fun we would have? We would just run around winging dynamite everywhere.
Dude, I'm going to put one here. I'm going to put one there. Oh, look at that. I can blow that up too. I'm going to put that there. You know what? I never liked Saks Fifth Avenue. I'm going to blow that up too. What? Why'd you put a bomb over there? Don't worry about it. He said he's going to put a bomb over there. Don't worry about it. Let's blow this mother.
You get a bomb. You get a bomb. You get a bomb.
Everyone gets a bomb. You get a bomb.
It's like, how'd you guys, we put so much C4 in that building, we actually just obliterated it. There's nothing left to fall on the lava.
It was supposed to go left. You know what? Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We launched this thing. Oh,
it's in space.
Oh my God. Dude. Yeah. We blew it up. We blew it up.
Like, as opposed to the thing falling down and blocking the lava, it just all explodes.
Right. So that's what I would have done.
But watching this movie, so, you know, I'm surprised that this movie has a big audience. People love Volcano because
it's so stupid.
It's stupid, but it also has this Day After Tomorrow vibe before Day After Tomorrow, where you have all the different people. You have people looking at screens. You have a daughter. You have a dad. They're divorced. It's a Roland Emmerich movie, kind of before. It's basically Day After Tomorrow, but with Volcano.
Yeah, that's right. It is the disaster. It's a disaster movie. You know, Towering Inferno. What's the elevator pitch for a Towering Inferno? Skyscraper is on fire. Here's the $200 million. Let's go. Let's make this. You know? What's the skyscraper pitch for this movie? Volcano in downtown LA. You know what? Here's $100 million. Let's go. Let's get it done. What? You got Keith David? What? Tommy Lee Jones? Here's another $100 million. Let's get it done. Let's do it. The movie's insane. The movie's insane, man. And then they still managed to put, you know, what everybody looks the same. Message.
Yeah.
We all got to work together.
The guy gets on the fire engine at the end, and he's like, I'm going to go help out. And they help each other move concrete blocks.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because the white people alone couldn't lift that concrete block. They needed the brother. Message.
That guy won't even say goodbye to him at the end.
He really didn't. And
then his buddy's like, I know you're a great guy, Johnson, but...
Oh, here come Mark Furman. Uh-oh. I was like, wow. This is another one, ladies and gentlemen. Watch Volcano. Open up your nicest bottle of Colt 45 and just enjoy yourself. I found out yesterday Colt 45 was 8% alcohol, bro. I did not know that. I did not know that.
I always thought that, man, this got me drunk. I just figured the sheer amount of it did it.
I thought too. That's what I thought too. It's just Old English 800 Colt 45. These were 7.8 to 8% beers, man. I did not know that.
That seems a bit unfair.
Right? Because they were pushing that on everybody. You know what? It works every time.
Oh, yeah.
And then, it does work every time. And then I'm going to go pound beer after that. But, dude, you're already hammered. You just didn't know it.
Yeah, because it hasn't hit you yet. Hey,
right.
At least it's not Anaconda malt liquor.
Oh,
Anaconda liquor.
yo. Oh my God.
I was just watching that again, and it's just the best.
The movie is, yo.
That
If you ever get a chance, find the cartoon too. It's
that
great.
blackboard scene where he's like, "Yeah, you're right. So then this leads to this, and then that leads to that."
Like,
Oh man.
watch the cartoon too, bro. Trust me.
All right, so I think we've tackled a lot of these movies here. I mean,
Yeah,
I think we're
five and
pretty
five.
good. I think we're good with their careers. And I mean, listen, TLJ's still rolling. He just popped up in Ad Astra. He was in The
Yes.
Family. He directed The Homesman, which is a good-looking movie with Hilary Swank. I mean,
Mm.
this is a guy who he's just in the Valley of Elah. He won like at Cannes for No Country for Old Men, Best Picture winner. I mean, he like the guy is still churning. Like Small Soldiers, I like his voice work. And then we got Keith
Yes.
David,
That
just
was
still running
ridiculous.
around crushing it, just being himself. And
Also-
and oh, I forgot to say, Keith David is in a Scott Adkins movie called Savage Dog.
Mm.
That I remember watching it. It's like when you watch a Scott Adkins movie, earlier ones, you're not expecting Keith David to pop up. And so when he
Right.
did as the mentor to Scott Adkins, I was like, this is amazing. This makes me
Yes.
really happy. So yeah, I mean, he popped up in that, and I mean, he's still everywhere. So I mean, he was in Nope.
Yes, that's right. As the he was the patriarch of the kids. That's right. As they were trying to do the horse thing. Yes, that's right. And in 2009, he was in like 10 movies.
He
So
acts.
he's never the star, but he is the character actor. Period. And y'all need to watch out, lead actors, because he might just take your movie.
And he's not just so. I mean, he's popping up in the Wachowskis' Cloud Atlas, right? Playing multiple
Yes.
characters. He's
Yeah.
popping up in Shane Black's The Nice Guys. Like
Mhm.
he's popping up in Darren Aronofsky Requiem for a Dream. This is a guy who he's not just a character actor. It seems like Oliver Stone, John Carpenter, I feel like the big names really do want to work with him. And
He can't be stopped.
I mean, yeah, I mean, Jordan Peele wanted him for Nope, and then Jordan Peele was talking about him in Nope, like just
Quick and the Dead.
yeah.
He was
Sam Raimi.
He was T'Challa. He was T'Challa in one of the Marvel cartoons back in the day.
Oh, yeah, he's just Death at a Funeral. I love, but no, listen, he's just. I'm so happy we did this. This is a Coraline too, bro. Like the cat.
No,
Oh man.
there it is. There
Oh,
it is.
I love some Keith David. But yeah, I love Keith. But dude, like, you know what it is for me is like John Leguizamo, Keith
Mm.
David. I like Scott Adkins. I think there's actors out there, and like, even actors and actresses out there who I just think are like Judy Greer or like Aubrey Plaza. Like
Yes.
I think they're great, and I just don't think they've hit yet. And so like or no, Regina Hall.
Right.
Like there's actors who I've been watching for decades, and I'm like they're amazing, and they
Yeah.
still haven't like hit. And so that I think
Mhm.
that's what draws me to them.
Yes.
And I know Tommy Lee Jones has won Oscars and everything, but he's still I don't know, he's quite versatile. He's always Texas, but he's like remember in Lincoln? Did you in
Yeah.
Lincoln? I was watching him in Lincoln going, wow, like this dude's it.
It- not a lead. One of the supporting characters nails it, and that takes off of his lawyer thing from Courage Under Fire. He was a lawyer. No, Rules of Engagement.
Rules of Engagement, yeah.
Rules of Engagement. He was a lawyer. Yeah, he gets to do the lawyer thing. Tommy Lee Jones, he's the leading actor that we adore, and Keith David should have been a leading actor. One day we'll get him in just a movie where he is the lead guy. Period. Point blank. Keith David, name on the poster only. That's what I want before I pass from this earth. Give him a movie, folks.
Beans and Franks, the true
Beans
story.
and Franks, the unedited cut.
It could be Rowan
Ouch.
Atkinson and Keith David in a buddy movie.
I think we've glossed over what it is we're looking for. We're looking for Tommy Lee Jones and Keith David to be in a movie together. That's it, man. All right. And so the elevator pitch is something is wrong, and only Tommy Lee Jones and Keith David can fix it.
Oh, I love
What the
it.
hell's wrong? What the hell's wrong, Keith? I don't know, brother. But let me tell you something. You and I, we're gonna go and figure it out. We're gonna find out what the problem is. We're gonna take care of this mother.
Hey,
You go over there behind the outhouse. I'm sorry.
pull that crap. Oh, not again. Hey man, so where can people find you before we get out of here?
At Eddie Kane on Twitter. I just happened to type in one of my old music things that I did. I'm on Spotify, apparently, and Apple Music. Brooknology. Brooklyn plus technology. Put them together, you get Brooknology. And yeah, I saw it was on Spotify. That was cool. You know, somebody's getting money off my music. Ain't me, but hey.
And you can hear your sultry vocals on Con Air the podcast.
And I have a couple of weird songs that are on the SoundCloud, Norbert Morvan. I'm a strange guy.
All right, man. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, brother. This is fun as usual.
This is great. All right, so for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, for Norbert Morvan, this is Movie Sons and Flicks. We'll see you next week.
You son of a bitch.